Hey everybody, welcome back to the Pixelists, the podcast about all the nerdy things we love and enjoy. I'm Will, that's Blake, and this is actually, I think this is a first for us. Correct me if I'm wrong, but we're on back-to-back podcast recordings right now.
That's right. And the good news for our viewers is we already got all like the random crap out of the way, like just the small talk we make at the start of an episode. We just did that. So,
Yeah. So
I guess we could like feign like, how are you today?
Yeah, I was gonna say, if for some reason that's the Pixelist content you really enjoy, we were talking about food, we were talking about pizza. Check out our Last of Us episode 5 discussion if that interests you.
Yeah, we're basically trying to work our way through our queue of
backlog,
content, So anyway,
Sorry. Which, speaking of, if you're watching this video, you're probably wondering where the episode 12 breakdown is. It's coming. These last 3 breakdowns, I'm sure if you guys have been watching them, have noticed how long they are. So they take me longer for that reason, but also it's just been a busy week. Valentine's Day, girlfriend's birthday. If you want more of that discussion, check out the Last of Us video. But it's on the way, so don't worry, I didn't forget.
I'm excited, man. I'm excited to dig into the goodness of what you leave us with. It'll be a nice little ending to this great season of campaign 1.
Yeah, and I'm sad to be done. So we'll have to find some more stuff to make that type of content on. I'll be glad to have a break from the constant video editing, but I will be sad to be done.
Yeah, I guess we'll have more to talk about like with the season as a whole, but these 3 episodes that we ended with were insane. Like they were so freaking good.
Yeah, agreed. I think like I would need to actually go back and actually look before I say this definitively, but it at least felt like it just kept getting better all season.
Mm-hmm.
Like each episode drop, I just kept getting like more and more hype. And I do feel pretty confident in saying this definitively that I think season 2 even surpassed season 1, like for just being better.
Season 1 was really good. I mean, I don't want to like judge too harshly because I honestly don't remember that well, like my experience with season 1. I just remember that I really liked season 1, but like season 2, I loved. Like every episode, I was like, bro, that was so good. And the benefit of having like, hundreds of hours of content is, we've said this before, you can make every episode very dense and like lots of good moments rather than like, just imagine if like Scanlan and Pike like trying to take Grog to get him healed or whatever, if that was like an entire season storyline. I think some shows would have done that. It would have been like, the whole season is them like, and it still like ends the same way, but there's 10 episodes of that journey rather than making my way montage. So
for sure. And to that same effect, I thought they did a great job of distilling it down to the certain moments that they selected. And you've heard us talk about this in all of our other discussions and the breakdowns, but all the changes they did make, I can't complain about any of them, and some of them I think are marked improvements given the change in mediums. So
well, we'll have to talk like more when we do like our post-season discussion, like more about I think those kind of like general things. Speaking about these last 3 episodes, speaking about changes, I'm really curious to hear like your thoughts on what was changed in these final 3 episodes. And just your reaction in general. What did you think about the last 3 episodes?
Yeah, I mean, I loved them. Like I said, they might be my favorite 3 of the whole season. The kill box, I think I mentioned this somewhere when we spoke, but I don't know where. But that is one of my favorite episodes of Critical Role, like of all time, from the original campaign. So seeing it animated was awesome, and I thought they did it justice. I mean, that freaking montage where Grog screams like for Vox Machina. And then we just get that awesome, like Scanlan's playing the heavy metal rock and they're just tearing things up.
What
Um,
was it about the live stream that made that episode your favorite? Like, was it just as epic or?
yeah, I mean, I love Grog, and that was like a really like defining moment of his arc, like going to confront his uncle and
Mhm.
doing it one on one, and it was just like so tense the whole time. It took place over 2 episodes of the campaign, so like the first one kind of ends with their 1v1 encounter happening, and then the next week is like when Vox Machina comes in and all that
Yeah.
happens.
Okay.
Um, and in those 2 episodes, I mean, this since you've been watching campaign 3, this will mean a bit more to you than maybe people that haven't watched any of the original campaigns. But in those 2 episodes, they never took a break. Like that's how tense it was. Like they never cut to break. They just played the whole time for both those episodes.
Oh my gosh, that's crazy.
Yeah. And it was just really intense. I don't know if I can confidently say this because it's been so long since I've seen the first campaign, but I think it was like the first moment where like a TPK was like definitely possible. And so it was just like you're on the edge of your seat the whole time, and then the way that ended is in the show is just like what happened in the campaign. Like they were screwed. They had like nothing left. And in fact, they had kind of gotten to a point where they were almost kind of like hiding, trying to
Mhm.
figure out like what are we gonna do. Grog was in the necklace because she put him in there so he wouldn't die. Um,
Yeah.
and so the
Okay.
the herd was just like going around like murdering all the innocent civilians of Western, and they were like, "What are we like? What can we do here?"
Yeah.
And they're like, maybe if we kill Kevdak, specifically Grog, like if Grog kills Kevdak, maybe they'll like look to him as the new leader type of thing. So like, let's go for it. And they tried that, move where he comes down from the heavens
Yeah,
and he
which
hits a
was
natural 20, which is just so
ah,
crazy.
oh my gosh.
So it was just like all those moments like culminating into this
Yeah.
epic scene. So yeah, that's why it was one of my favorites. And then, obviously to see it animated was so cool.
Bro, the dice always knows. Dice don't lie, you know? We've
True.
all had those like amazing moments where like you need it to happen and then you roll the dice and boom. And Travis, we've talked about it, but Travis hits those moments so well.
Oh,
I think about
yes.
the final roll of Calamity as well.
Yes.
Um,
Bro,
so
Travis, if you made me pick like right now who has like the most epic natural 20 moments, it's definitely Travis. Um, the ones we just talked about, and there's some other ones that I don't want to like spoil, but toward the end of campaign 1 too, that are
okay.
just amazing.
Yeah,
Um,
that like air attack was so well done, and epic. Like just like the slice through Kevdak. I mean, it blew me away. I just was like, bro, this was so freaking cool.
yeah.
Um, so, and I really honestly didn't know what was going to happen in the sense of like, it really, even as like a casual viewer, I just thought, or someone who hadn't seen the stream, I just thought, once Vox Machina showed up, I thought it was going to be like a pushover. They're going to move on to like the real story,
Hmm.
like Umbrasyl or whatever. But there was definitely a point where I was like, bro, are these people screwed? Like, what's going to happen here? So I
Yeah.
definitely felt that.
I really liked that aspect. I mean, obviously, since I'd seen the campaign, I knew what was going to happen, but I really liked that for people who didn't, who probably kind of had that, like, okay, now they're going to win moment a couple of times. Like when Grog first regains his strength, like,
Yeah.
and like rages out, I'm sure a lot of people thought, like, oh, like now he's going to win. But then he still just got destroyed. And then he calls for Vox Machina. Oh, now they're going to win. And then the tide
Right.
turns against them again. Um, but yeah, especially like I wonder people that didn't see the campaign and maybe like don't even know there is a campaign, like maybe they just found the show on Amazon. I'm curious like what their thoughts are if they're like, oh, you know, sword from the heavens and killed him, like okay guys, but like I just feel like I hope it's still as cool without the context of knowing like no, like that's what actually happened and it was like an all or nothing roll of the dice and it just happened to work out. um, I think it's still cool even without that context, but like with it, it just like times 30 in my opinion. So
Yeah. It was pretty epic for sure. And just a very like we've mentioned this so many times, but just so well animated. Like also when
Oh yeah.
Kevdak picks up Grog and puts him on the pike,
Oh yeah.
bro. I was like, do I? Come on, come on.
Yeah.
And
That
then
was
also
brutal.
like another, and I don't mean to keep like talking so long about just this one episode, but I loved the detail of Kevdak spotting Pike. Going back to again, uh, her having disadvantage on stealth rolls. Like
Hmm.
I just love these tiny little details. You're like, of course he would spot her because she's not very stealthy. So
Yeah.
anyway, I just really enjoyed the episode.
Me too. And as far as changes in that episode, it was pretty true to form, other than the fact, and we've talked about this before, but they never got split up. So in the original, they were all there, and like again, Grog still went and challenged Kevdak alone, and Vox Machina was just like hiding in the rooftops, like waiting to see what happened and waiting for his signal, which his signal was Vox Machina. Um,
Yeah.
so yeah, all pretty true to form, other than that one change.
Well, moving on to the last two episodes, the Umbrasyl trap into the fight.
Yeah. And
I
the
love.
Kaylee reveal. That's one thing I wanted to ask you about that I just remembered too.
Oh yes,
Yeah.
yes, that's right. Yeah, I was actually wondering what was going on there because I thought like, is she gonna kill him? Like, is she like actually working? Like, I even wondered because you had mentioned there was one of the dragons who was like stealthily, whatever. I was like, is this that person? Like, what's about to happen here? But yes, loved that whole reveal. And then I loved how they had the like genuine, I remember your mom. And he like does like the whole storyline. And then she's like, that's
Yes.
not my mom. Which was so like peak Scanlan.
Yes, that
So
was hilarious. And that was like that moment, obviously there was no like flashback montage in the original campaign. So that was like a new kind of bit for the show. And yeah, I love that.
and then I loved him trying to explain to Pike what happened. And he's like, imagine like you just got a puppy and then you wanted to have sex with it. Or you almost had sex with it. And she's like, what? Like the whole thing was just so funny.
It was, and
So
that yeah, go
go
ahead.
ahead.
That played out just like it did in the campaign. Scanlan is this debaucherous, going to all the brothels and stuff. And so Matt like really kind of, had this great character moment for him where he tries to seduce his daughter essentially, and it plays out just the same. Like she'd been like kind of looking for him and wanting to kind of give him what was coming to him. But in the campaign, she actually does like try to attack him, but she rolls a natural one. So that's kind of another moment where like the dice are kind of serving the story, and then it plays out very similarly to what we saw in the show with.
Well, what was the sword in the live stream like kind of like the immovable rod type sword?
No, it wasn't. So the sword, like she doesn't give him a sword in the live stream. I think that was just the way of the show kind of introducing the concept of an immovable rod. So then, with what happens in the Umbrasyl fight, they kind of have that established. I don't know this, but I'm also wondering if immovable rod is like a trademarked thing that they maybe had to kind of
Mm,
introduce their own version of anyway if they wanted to use it.
good point.
But yeah, she didn't have the
Yeah,
immovable
okay.
sword in the campaign.
Yeah. I liked it though. I mean, it's I love these like character development. I feel like another reason I like season 2 so much was it really felt like the characters moved forward quite a bit. We had Vex and
Hmm.
Vax's storyline, not just the flashbacks before Vex dies, but like their dad. We had Grog's story was amazing. And I really liked season 1, but I feel like it was mostly centered around Percy.
Hmm.
Still great, but didn't get quite, I feel like, the attention on the other characters, except for maybe Pike, which we talked about. Well, using my phrasing, Pike's story in season 1, I felt like was a little flat or just a bit clunky. But I think in this season, I really felt like the characters were growing and changing and developing. So that's another reason why I really liked it. And Scanlan's arc was another example of that.
Yeah,
So
100%. And in season one, the Briarwood arc is basically entirely about Percy. So I feel like that's kind of why it was that way. But yeah, I'm really glad that they kind of got to flesh out everyone else a bit more this season, since the Chroma Conclave isn't like specifically about like one character. You know, they all kind of exploring the different things that we saw, which is the same way it happened in the campaign too. But yeah, and this is something we already commented on, but they're just doing such a great job of truncating and diluting these hundreds of hours of this character development down into this digestible form.
Yeah.
Um,
What?
and I think we're just getting started with Scanlan's I mean, he definitely had a bit of an arc, especially at the end. He kind of turns the corner of I don't
Yeah.
want to say doing the right thing, because that implies like he's a scumbag, and he's not. Like he's a important member of the team, but clearly he kind of has that like,
Well, he
you
went
know,
from
yeah,
doing what was best for him to risking his life for the group. I
right.
mean that is sort of like the theme in that episode of, and Vax is giving him a hard time about it like the whole episode. And we saw this same side of him before the party even decided to go to what's it called, the religious city,
Vasselheim.
Vasselheim. Before they even decided, he was kind of just like screw this, let's get out of here. So
Yep.
it was, what we had seen before. And I don't want to jump necessarily to those final moments, but um, I was very satisfied with the whole Umbrasyl bait into chase into fight sequence. By the way, not sure how you felt about it.
Yeah. I'm gonna say one more thing on Scanlan before I answer that. But just, and not that this even needs to be said really, but in the original campaign, the whole like Scanlan like his character arc kind of being like not running away from his problems, and like there's that moment where he like thought about like ditching Vox Machina when they were all looking pretty dire against Umbrasyl. Those character moments didn't happen in the campaign. Like Scanlan was never like, I'm like, screw you guys, I'm leaving,
Like
you
a
know?
coward.
Right.
Yeah.
Because I mean, in D&D, I mean, I get that's totally possible, I guess. Like, I guess you could, at a table, a player could run and leave everybody else to die. But he never did that. So that's kind of just like a moment that was the moment that the character arc that moment is serving is still true to his character arc, which we'll see over the later seasons. But I did just want to point out that like he wasn't like just leaving everyone to die at the original table or anything.
He wasn't as much of a douche in the live stream.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
But
Still
now,
just as horny though.
even more so, honestly. uh, but
Oh man.
to the Umbrasyl fight, yeah, I mean, that was very true to the original campaign, down to the way the one episode ended. With Vax, Scanlan still inside, and Grog along for the ride. If you haven't seen my breakdown yet, I share this clip, but Matt ends the session at that moment. So in the same way the episode ended and you had to go to the finale, their campaign ended and you had to wait. I think actually had to wait 2 weeks until their next session because of some scheduling or something back then. So that was a rough cliffhanger back then.
Did it play out the same way though, of like Grog falling and Vax basically
No,
sprouting wings?
no, actually. So like, what's the word I'm looking for? Like essentially it did, but not this in that same specific way, because there's certain little details that are tweaked that obviously kind of make little minute changes that get bigger as time goes on. But Vax actually did not get his wings in that moment. It happened a little bit later. And the
Because I was gonna say, I thought it took a little longer for a vestige to sort of like unlock its full
yeah.
ability. So
So real quick, vestiges of divergence, and not all of them have this, but at least in the case of the Deathwalker's wards, there's like 3 phases: dormant, awakened, and exalted. And exalted is like when it reaches its full potential. Um, so in the campaign, a lot of the times, like those moments of it going from dormant to awakened or awakened to exalted are based on like story moments or character moments more than anything else. Like Matt, like, Matt recognizes like this is, I don't need to get into it. You get it.
yeah,
Um, so in the original campaign, the timeline was a bit shifted. Like they don't go to the Feywild until after they've killed Kevdak and Umbrasyl. So in the show, they
That's
inserted
so
that
interesting.
first. Yeah. So like
Oh my
Vex didn't
gosh!
have
Wow.
Finthris for any of those fights
Oh
in the
wow.
original campaign. So because of that, at this, and also Vax having his moment with the Raven Queen in the where he goes into the blood and kind of has that like meeting with
Yeah.
her. When they fight Umbrasyl, that hadn't happened yet. So it's kind of that moment where he kind of it's not in that moment that the Deathwalker's ward awakens, but like that moment kind of has to happen first because then he kind of has peace and like a better understanding of this deal that he made and kind of the path that he's on. So at the time of the Umbrasyl fight, he had not had that spiritual meeting with the Raven Queen. So when he plummets out of like Umbrasyl and he's falling, he does like make a prayer to the Raven Queen. He's like, I need you right now. But like they hadn't had that moment yet. So like I think Matt describes it like this burst of feathers starts like like he's leaving a trail of feathers, but like there's no wings. Um and so I
And
like that since they
it,
did shift things around and he has had that meeting with her in the show that the wings do come out because like that the awakening moment had happened at in the
yeah.
show. Um so because of those changes, Max obviously doesn't have the wings. Scanlan catches Grog in the Bigby's hand uh in the campaign, and then Scanlan polymorphs Grog into an eagle, and Scanlan's riding Grog, and then the two of them swoop down and catch Vax.
Oh
Um
my gosh.
yeah. So like he makes the prayer to the Raven Queen and the feathers come out, not the wings, but the Raven Queen's like to your left, and like he reaches out to the left and he grabs the eagle as they like soar by him. So it's
Yeah.
still a cool moment, but like this is an
Yeah.
example of one of those changes that I think is great for the show. Um,
I
because that
think
was
for
an
the
epic moment, you know?
yeah, I think for the show it would have made a lot happen in the sense of um like you said, Bigsby's hand and the polymorph, and then the discussion with the Raven Queen. That's a lot to happen in just like such a short span of time. Because I guess the sequence is only about 60 seconds. Um, I loved how it did play out, including Grog getting totally. I think like he broke his legs or something.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
pretty gruesome. But um, by the way, I get kind of weird. I'm not weirded out, but like I find myself saying these like, "Oh, that was so gruesome," and it was awesome. Like not like in a twisted way, but I'm just like,
Yeah.
that was a crazy scene.
I know what you
So
mean.
yeah,
And in the show that or in the campaign, they do like exit Umbrasyl, and so everyone kind of has to regroup, and then similar to the show, they like decide to chase after him further, and follow him into the mountain. Um, but because of that, and we kind of see this in the show, like he heals up, like he's they kind of are penalized in a way of well, because they when they regroup they kind of like rest for a little bit, so by the time they make it back to him like he's healed.
yeah.
And the only other change really,
Which we got that detail, by the way,
yeah,
with him actually physically healing himself.
yeah, so I like that.
That's cool.
The only other like massive change I would say is that Scanlan is not the one to get the killing blow. I think I mentioned this earlier. One, he doesn't like use Mythcarver really ever in the original
Right.
campaign. So two, so I love the change there, and we got to kind of see him flex with that, especially given like the story arc he was on. But Grog kills Umbrasyl, and I think this change makes a lot of sense because we just had this moment with Grog in the kill box, and Grog is the one that killed Brimscythe in season one. So I don't think it's like a I don't. I mean, maybe some people are out there mad that Grog didn't get the kill here, but for me, I think this makes a lot of sense and is a good change. Even
Yeah, and I thought for me, as someone not having ever seen the live stream, the whole like Scanlan storyline and then stealing Mythcarver off of Umbrasyl, which I know you
yeah,
mentioned the live stream, Umbrasyl never actually got, but stealing it off, stabbing him in the eye, and then like the ultimate like flare
it's like
of
a
Mythcarver,
Kamehameha or
like
something.
yeah, like the headshot was so freaking epically awesome.
Yeah,
Like I wanted to stand in my chair. I mean, it was so freaking cool. So I'm so curious. Like I probably need to go back and like watch the moment happen on the live stream with Grog taking out Umbrasyl. But such for me, it was like such a perfect final battle for season two.
No, yeah, agreed. And I love the original campaign. Like I wouldn't make the show changes to the original campaign by any means, but I love this change. Like I think it better served the story for sure. And it was just awesome. Like you said, uh I think you and I in our reaction are both like screaming when that happens. I know we definitely
Yeah.
were at a lot of moments in these last three. So I'm sure that was one of them. But yeah, in the original campaign, Umbrasyl also wasn't like obsessed with the vestiges like he is here.
Yeah,
So,
and does he have in the original campaign, does he have what's her name? Percy's.
oh no, Ripley, no.
Okay.
That's kind of another thing they've kind of like conjoined for the show, which I don't
Yeah,
want to
okay.
get too much into it yet because it hasn't happened yet. So maybe that's something we'll talk about in season 3. But that change makes sense for what's to come. I think
Yeah. So what dragons are left? We have the
Vorgal, which is
is he the
the
ice one?
yeah, like the rhinoceros kind of bulldog
Yeah.
one. Raishan, which we saw, we haven't talked about
Mhm.
that yet, but at the end, and then Thordak, the big daddy.
Right. Okay. And do you think the story is getting wrapped up next season, or do we have two more on it?
I think next season they've
Okay.
unless I mean until it comes out, who knows? Maybe something changes, but I think they've said that the Chroma Conclave will be seasons 2 and 3.
Yeah. Okay. Okay.
So yeah, I imagine it
What
gets wrapped up.
what episode are we up to, by the way, in the campaign?
All right, so it's a bit.
Because Briarwood was like around 30, 35 or something, right? As
Mm-hmm.
that wraps up?
So it's somewhere around there, maybe 40 something though. So it's a bit confusing because, like I said, they don't go to the Feywild until after Kabdak
Right.
and Umbrasyl. So like, there's like a chunk of like 4 or 5 episodes that they picked up and shifted. So like, but like if we were counting those, I would say like almost episode 80.
Oh
But
my gosh.
those are kind of picked up and lifted out. So if you're saying
Yeah.
like at the
Okay.
end of the Umbrasyl fight, it's maybe like 58.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Interesting. Okay. And then the season is 130, 130 something.
The first one's only 115,
Oh, okay. Okay.
I think.
Dang. So,
The Feywild happened somewhere in the 70s, so maybe 80 was maybe a bit too long, but
okay.
and it's just a couple of episodes. So I'd say let's just ignore the Feywild stuff. They're around episode 60.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Interesting. Well, yeah, I need to get the reaction edited and put up because there definitely were a lot of moments from these last three, though, that we were just like, just going crazy over.
Yeah.
So, and it's got me bummed that I have to wait now for every time you finish a great season of television, man. I always felt this way with Lost. Whenever Lost
Mm,
would end, I'd be like, oh, I have to wait an entire year now.
this was so good.
It was, but
Uh, I'm sad that we weren't doing this back when that was the thing. So I feel like there would have been some really good discussions week to week of like
yeah,
just
and
trying to figure
probably a
out
lot
what
of
was going
disappointment.
on.
We would have definitely like had all sorts of theories and been like, wait, what?
For
So
sure.
anyway, well,
Which
anything else? Go ahead.
this is completely off tangent, but speaking of Lost, Kate, Evangeline Lilly, Ant-Man 3 just came out. But
Oh, it's out.
it
Oh,
just came
bro.
out this weekend. I I'm not like a guy that dives into reviews, so I haven't even like read any reviews, but I have seen that like people are not that happy with it. So that's kind of a bummer.
Oh no.
I know, but like I said, I mean maybe who knows? I haven't actually read anything. I've just kind of seen that general like malaise.
Oh, geez, that's a bummer.
I know. I'm still obviously going to see
Starting,
it.
is this the first film for the new phase?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, Phase 5.
Yeah. Okay. It can't be worse than Doctor Strange 2.
It can't be okay. I don't think we need to have our Phase 4 video because I will agree
Yeah.
that Doctor Strange 2 was kind of a letdown, but
You liked it. It's okay.
it was awful, especially the more time that goes on. Thor: Love and Thunder, man. It was garbage. Garbage. You liked it, man? Like you thought it was good?
You thought it was garbage? It
Well, I
was
walked out of the
great.
theater and it was like it was okay. But now the more and more time that's gone on, I'm starting to hate it.
This is a look of genuine shock. I cannot. How have we not talked about
Doctor
this?
Strange 2 was way better than Love and Thunder. Let's just
Doctor
put it
Strange 2
that
was
way.
trash. It was so bad. I cannot believe he didn't like Love and Thunder.
I don't know, man. It was just a disappointment.
I was on a date night, so I didn't have like my critical eye
Yeah.
for it. I was just there to have a good time.
Well, I don't want to get sidetracked in this current video, but we should do like a phase 4, and we can kind of air our grievances for
Yeah, okay.
our
All right.
for our respective.
I will say, you saw Wakanda Forever, right?
Yeah.
Did we see it together?
No, I don't think
Okay.
so.
All of a sudden, I was like, wait a minute, did we see this together? Okay.
Tightening.
Yeah, okay. Okay. So we had a high note. We had a
Yeah,
high
Wakanda Forever was good. So
yeah. Okay.
and
All
you
right.
know,
Well, I
we'll
cannot
see,
believe this
Ant-Man,
though. That
and we'll decide
yeah.
for ourselves. But yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I have to say, just full disclaimer though, Ant-Man is my wife's favorite. So I think
I
if
like
her and I see
Ant-Man.
if her and I see it together, which we probably will, I'll probably when we chat about it, I'll probably be like, loved it, it was great, even if it wasn't. So
Well, yeah, I hope so. I really like Ant-Man. The first one was really fun. The second one I thought wasn't as good as the first one, but was still good.
first one had that actor, I can't think of his name, but he was like popping off at the time, and I haven't really seen him since. The guy who plays Yellow Jacket. Is he Yellow Jacket?
The guy
Is that the
from
name?
House of Cards.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah.
Um,
All right.
One last thing I wanted to, one quick question for you, and then one last thing about the show. And I might have asked you this during our reaction, but I want to ask it here as well. Kaylee, did you? So obviously I had the benefit of knowing, but to me they looked identical. Like it's like Scanlan and Kaylee, like they share so many similarities. So I was just
I
curious
see it
if you picked up on
now.
any of that.
No,
Okay.
I see it now. I didn't at the time. I was like, oh, another, halfling. Great. I didn't even think about it.
Okay.
I actually thought, oh, I wonder if there'll be a little something here, and maybe Pike will get jealous, which is actually, I guess they did it intentionally because that's what it then fed into. So they played me like a flute.
So yeah, anyone else that's watching that didn't see the original campaign, I'm curious if y'all's thoughts, if you could tell they looked similar, you had any inkling, or if you didn't at all. And then the last thing, which I don't really have like a point I'm driving to, but the whole Raishan reveal. Did that? I mean, I kind of had we kind of talked about, and I kind of had like given you the clue that there was something like that going on, but did that catch you off guard at all, or
The way it happened caught me off guard, but I knew from the moment they escaped to Whitestone and like the little kid with the green eyes popped up, I felt like it was pretty obvious that something was happening here.
Yeah.
The way that is what's her name dead, by the way? Is that the implication?
So we don't. I guess we don't know. But I don't think so.
Okay. That part did surprise me. I was like, oh dang, here she is.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Because in the campaign, it was a different character that she was pretending to be, but it's one that like hasn't really gotten any screen time at all in the show. So I think they just changed it. So who knows what they're gonna do? But I don't think so, because she's kind of coming there to be allies with them. So I can't imagine if she killed Keeper Yenin, that would ingratiate herself to them very much.
Yeah. Okay.
But yeah, that's all I got. I just wanted to get your pulse on those two things.
Yeah, let us know what you thought about these 3 episodes, and then stay tuned. We'll have like maybe like a longer, maybe give it a couple more weeks, and then do like a season discussion.
Yeah.
That's it. Thanks for watching, guys.
Yeah, and more our Critical Role discussion will be up in the next couple days, probably for episode 49. Stuff's heating up.
Getting crazy. I think. Oh, we don't have an episode Thursday though.
Yeah.
Oh dang. Okay, episode 50. I think is going to be nuts.
Me too. Which I'm kind of glad that the cliffhanger's now instead of
yes.
Then,
Right. Okay. We'll catch you later, guys.
Bye, y'all.
See ya.